Hi, this is Mark Pritchard with CloudBees again, and now we've gone through our basic setup. Let's see how easy it is just to create a web application that we're going to build and then deploy to the CloudBees platform in the cloud. So let's go first of all. We've got the CloudBees plugin here, so what I can do is I can go ahead and I'm going to create a new CloudBees project here. So let me do that there, and I'll just call this CloudBees Demo. What I'm going to do is, instead of that, I think I'm going to use a different location, and I think I'll come down, I'll put this in my projects directory there, and I'm going to create a new project there called CloudBees Demo, and I'm going to want a new Jenkins continuous integration job. I have a number of different accounts, that's why you probably won't see that dialog. And I'm going to go ahead and set up a Jenkins continuous integration build job. We'll look at that in a minute. So that's all I need to do, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create my CloudBees demo application. Here it is, and you can see here that we've got a starter web app. And we've given you a little starter page to get going. You've got all the things that I'm sure are very familiar to you with a basic servlet, and we'll look as we go through in more detail at the standard web XML, the CloudBees web XML. But first thing we can do, having got all this, is that we can go straight in here and we can go down to the CloudBees environment, and we can just run a local instance of this. So let me push that. We can see the output here, and we've got our application running on localhost on 8335. So we can go ahead and take a quick look at that. Let me go here. If I can type localhost 8335. There we are, and you can see our standard page here that you can then, you can either get rid of it or you can use that as a basis for development and so on. So let's pop that down. I'll stop that instance, as it's very easy to forget that these things are up and running. And what we'll do first is look at how we can now move this into the cloud. So obviously I can carry on developing with this, but what I want to do now is to go back to my CloudBees Forge repository, and I'm going to create a new Git repository, and I'm going to call this CB Demo, and obviously you can give it an appropriate description and so on. I'm not going to bother for now, and I'll go in and I've created the repository. That's all it took, and you've got various instructions here if you were working from the command line, but I'm going to use egit, so let me just copy that repository URL, and I can come in here. So first of all, I'm going to come down to team, and I'm going to create a local Git project. So let me just do that there, and I'm going to create that in the parent folder of the project. There we go. I need to create the repository. So if you were then to look on the disk, you'd actually see your .git and so on. We could actually do that if you like. So here we are. Let's just go here, and I'll go to projects, and I can go to my CB demo. We'll be using some of the other ones here later on. And if I do this one's AL, you'll see the .git repository in there. So let's go back to close that down, and I'll come back here. So now what I can do is I can go in, having created my repository. What I can do is I can go and commit my project. So at this point I could choose what I want to do. I'm just going to take the whole lot, and I'm going to do a standard initial commit message. So I'll do that. That's all done, that's committed, and of course I could do the same thing and look at it from the command line. But having done that, I've got my CloudBees cloud repository here. So what I would like to do is to push that to the remote repository, and you can see here we've automatically picked up the repository URI that I saved just now. So I can just go straight ahead, click through that, and I can go to my all branches spec here, and I'm going to go ahead and push that up into the cloud to my CloudBees repositories. Normally I'd have this in the background, but I'm just going to leave it here so we can see what's going on, and hey presto, that's all done. So what I want to do now is I'm going to configure up the Jenkins continuous integration. So let me go back here and I'll go to my Jenkins dashboard. Now I created this earlier when we used the Eclipse plugin, and it automatically created this Jenkins build for me. I'm going to go in and configure it because I want to do a few things here. Now this is going to be a pretty basic Jenkins scenario. Jenkins is a very powerful environment. There's a lot of things you can do, and I'm going to be following up with a series of blogs and videos that will go into all the many things that you can do with Jenkins in this environment. But for now, what we want to do is just to first of all synchronize with the Git repository. So I can enter the URI there. That's fine. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to make sure that I want the Jenkins build job to be kicked off whenever there's a change pushed to the CloudBees Forge. So I've got all that in place. I've just given a quick description there, and what I might want to do is just say built CB demo, like that. As I say, many other things you can do. We'll look at all those in later recordings in more detail, but I now have my Jenkins continuous integration set up. Let's go back to the Eclipse environment. So perhaps here's where I might want to make a change. So let me just change the title. So I'll just call it Mark's CloudBees. Sorry, let me spell that right. Since it's going up in the title, we want to get it right. Mark's CloudBees demo. So let me just save that. There we go. And now I've got that change. What I can do is I can come back to my team. I'm going to commit that. There we are. I'll make that change. So what I can now do is I can push that up into the cloud. So there we go. I'm going to do a remote push to my configured repository. Once again, let me just pick up the all branches spec. There we go. And again, I mean, I would normally have this in the background, but it takes so little time. So there you can see the change I've made, and that's now pushed to the cloud-hosted Git repository. And what we'll do here is you'll see we're automatically connected to the dev and the run services here. So we'll be adding some applications here in a minute. Here I'm going to be able to see information about my various Jenkins build jobs, and I can also have my repository, Forge repository integration here. But what we'll do now is just go over to the Jenkins dashboard. Here we are, and we'll have a look at the CB demo. It's automatically done a build because I made that change, and I'll show you in a later recording how I can pick up RSS feeds to get information about those builds. I can also see information here. So for example, I can go to Dev at Cloud Jenkins. I simply right click and I can get the job list, and you can see here was my latest build. If I want to get that information, I can actually see that in my Eclipse environment, and I can see here that this was a successful build. as we'd expect. And I can go in, I can look at all the details, I can see the changes and so on. I could have configured up obviously a much more complex, more powerful Jenkins build pipeline. I could have notifications for success or failure or partial failure, partial success. I could have email notifications and things pushed to me. But now that I've built this, one of the things that I would like to do is I can actually deploy this to the runtime environment, the cloud runtime environment. And now I can do this again back here in my environment. So if I come from Eclipse, I can simply use the CloudBees plugin, and I can come down. Instead of run local, I'm now going to deploy my application to the cloud, to the CloudBees PaaS. Again, you may not see this, I just have multiple accounts in use. And you can see it's doing the deployment here. If you had, many people choose to actually have their Jenkins builds on success, push it into a staging or a test environment in the cloud. Again, I'm doing this in more manual steps just so you can see the process, but all this can be automated through the Jenkins environment. Here's my application. It's now active, and I could see the same thing if I go to the CloudBees PaaS console. Let me do a refresh on that, and you'll see now that I have my CloudBees demo. I could open this up. There's a lot more that I can do here, and I'll show you that in a subsequent recording. But let's just go back to Eclipse and wrap this up by showing you how you can then go in and run this. So I'm now going to open that application in my browser. I'm now picking this up off the CloudBees from the cloud, and of course I could put my own DNS and so on in front of that so that it would go to my own personal URL. And you can see there the change I made. I've gone the title to Mark's CloudBees demo. So what we have, just to wrap up, is that I've created a CloudBees enabled project. I have a web app framework. It's all ready to run. You can then go in and start coding, making whatever changes you want to do. And you can either deploy it locally using a local Tomcat instance, or you can deploy it to the cloud, taking advantage of CloudBees' cloud repositories and continuous integration environment. So in the next recording, we'll have a look at how we can start to extend this environment.